Now, I have to take something back, or at least defer it. And I want to be honest about the fact that I'm doing it. I've spent this whole session telling you that a cluster makes a claim and that claims can be tested. You're not testing anything today. Today, you are recording the claim precisely, in full, with its location and its tightness and its membership. That is the entire assignment. Here is why, and it is the same argument as the lexicon, arriving from a different direction. You have 6 sessions. 6. You cannot yet know what a dense layout means for you, because meaning in this method comes from comparison, and you do not have enough maps to compare yet. You cannot say, my clusters tend to land near the edge on the strength of 6 days, because you do not yet know what your tendencies are. You have not established them. You are still building the baseline. If you start interpreting cluster density today, you will not be reading the field. You will be reading your own expectations back at yourself, and you will be doing it with the confidence of someone who has a system. That is worse than doing nothing. The testing of claims, the disconfirmation work, the honest miss, the comparison of maps across sessions, that is phase 2. Days 11 through 20, it is coming, and it is where this all starts to pay. It requires an inventory of honest records, and you are currently in the business of manufacturing that inventory. Record the claim. Do not adjudicate it. 6 days is not a data set. Here is your drill. It sits inside steps 3 and 4 of the log. Nothing is added to your day. 1. Lay out and draw as always. Face down before any flip. The somatic filter and the touch log come first, unchanged. 2. Ask the question you've not been asking. Is there a cluster at all? I want to dwell on that for a moment because it is the move most people skip. Sometimes there is no cluster. The cards land in a fairly even scatter and nothing groups. If that is what happened, then that is your finding and you write it down. No cluster today. Cards evenly distributed. Do not go hunting for a cluster because today's video is about clusters. 2 cards that are vaguely nearer each other than the others are not a cluster. If you have to squint to see the grouping is being supplied by you, not by the table. That is the day 4 lesson arriving in a new costume, and it will keep arriving because it is the central failure mode of this entire practice. The practitioner who needs to find something always finds something. 3. If there is a cluster, mark its members, its zone, and how tight it is. All 3. That is the claim fully recorded. 4. Flip the clustered cards together. Read the group as one unit. What do they say as a whole? 5. Only then look at the individual cards inside it. And then you stop. You do not decide what the cluster means about your life. You have recorded a claim. That is the day. Your geometry sentence expands today. It now has to carry density. The form: blank cards clustered in the blank zone, tightness blank, the rest blank, widest gap between blank and blank. Notice that distance is still there. Day 3 did not expire. The signals accumulate. You are not swapping one lens for another, you are adding a lens. By day 9, you will be carrying all 3 at once, and that is the point of taking them one at a time now. Still allowed in those blanks: 3, tight, loose, near the body, overlapping, evenly scattered, no cluster. All of those are structural. All of them describe the arrangement. Still not yet? Card names, not one. What the cluster is about. why the cards group that way, and what any of it says about you or your life. That last exclusion is the one that will chafe today. And I know it will, because a cluster feels meaningful in a way a gap does not. A gap is an absence. And it is easy to leave alone. But 3 cards huddled together in the corner nearest your body, that feels like it is about something. And the pull to say what will be strong. Resist it. Write the structure. The structure is what you will still be able to trust in 3 weeks, precisely because it contains nothing you wanted it to say. 2 failure modes today, and they are mirror images of each other. Both feel like effort, both are inventions. The first, manufacturing a cluster. You know today is about clusters, so you find one. 2 cards are slightly nearer each other than average, become a cluster in the lower right. If you have to squint to see the grouping, you're supplying it. And you have just written an invented data point into your log. And as we established on day 4, an invented data point is indistinguishable from a real one once it is on the page. No cluster today is a complete and respectable finding. Write it without embarrassment. The second failure runs the other way, and it is subtler, and it tends to catch the people who consider themselves rigorous. It is dissolving the cluster. You look at 3 cards that genuinely landed in a knot, and you think, well, that is just how they fell. The shuffle did that. My hand did that. It doesn't mean anything. That is not skepticism. That is you overriding the field, reaching in and deciding in advance of any evidence that the geometry does not count. It is the cognitive override, wearing the same costume of intellectual rigor, and it is dangerous precisely because it feels so responsible. Here is the thing about both of these errors. They produce the same corruption. In both cases, the log stops recording what happened on the table and starts recording what you thought about what happened on the table. That is the only sin available in phase 1, and it has these 2 faces. Your job is neither to believe the cluster nor to dismiss it. Your job is to write down that it was there exactly as it was. You are not asked to believe. You are asked to record. Let me show you where this is going, because phase 1 asks a great deal of patience, and you are entitled to know what it buys. Now, days 1 through 10, you record the claim, its zone, its tightness, its membership, every session, without judgment. It feels like clerical work, and in a sense it is. Days 11 through 20, you compare the claims across sessions. And now the questions become answerable ones because you have something to answer them with. Do your clusters recur? Do they favor a zone? Is there a region of your surface that keeps accumulating weight? That is where the claims finally get tested. Against each other, across time, on evidence. And you can only run that comparison if the records exist, which is the entire reason today is so unglamorous. You are not underperforming today. You are manufacturing the raw material that phase 2 consumes. Every honest, boring entry you make this week is a data point that day 14 gets to use. Every invented one is a data point that will quietly poison it. And by day 30, you see the density before you read the cards. The claim registers on site, in the body, before the interpreting mind arrives. That is the terminal goal of this entire course, that the geometry lands on you before you've read a thing. That capacity is not taught. It is accumulated. It is built out of 30 honest records, most of which felt like nothing much on the day you made them. That is day 6. Cluster. Density is a claim. Cards that land together are asserting that they belong together. And your job today is to hear that assertion accurately and write it down, not to rule on whether it is true. Go to your table. 5 steps in order. 1 sitting. Draw the map before you flip. Ask whether there's a cluster and be willing for the answer to be no. If there is one, record its zone, its tightness, its members. Flip the group together. Read it as one thing. Then look inside it. Then stop. You're not the judge of it yet. You are its stenographer. The judging comes in phase 2, and it will be worth having waited for because it will be built on records you can actually trust. Tomorrow is short, and I'll tell you now what it is about because I suspect it has already started. Tomorrow is about the feeling that most of this is nothing much, that most cards do not do anything, that the sessions are uneventful, and the geometry is ordinary, and you're beginning to wonder what exactly you've signed up for. That feeling is not a problem with your practice. Tomorrow, I'm going to show you that it is the lesson. I will see you on day 7.